Fooling around, I'll tell the truth. Nothing's secret.
There is a connection between every institution grown out of this country and white supremacy, the nation as a whole, including its laws and its institutions.
What you have is a tension between nationalism and globalism.
They had to create something in the mind of the poor whites that distinguished them and separated them from the blacks. And that's where you developed what I call, and James Baldwin called, the religion of whiteness.
The police that answer to the politics of that community are going to be driven by the economics of that community because economics and politics overlap.
You know why I wanted to be a politician in a time when we disenfranchised? Because of power.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Tamir Rice, Sean Bell, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, and Michael Brown, just to name a few.
Some may incorrectly classify their death as police brutality. However, it is in fact murder and a form of terrorism that is ironically very similar to what took place during chattel enslavement. What steps can be taken?
All right. Peace and love, family. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion with another powerful guest. Tonight, I have with me the producers of the Hapi film. I know that you've been seeing me play the promo trailer, for the past couple of weeks, and I've been bringing on the cast members. And so now tonight, I have with me the actual producers. Sister Felicia, how are you, Queen? And Brother Taki, how are you, King? How are you? Unmute your mic, please.
Peace. I'm doing well, doing great. Very busy these days, but hey, it's par for the cause. So exciting times also.
Absolutely. I just want to take this opportunity to tell you that I am so proud of you. I am. I mean, this film, from what I have seen so far and what I have heard, you all are providing us or providing the community with transformative information. It's not like just another documentary where we just sit in front of the documentary and just, we watch it and then we go, we go about our daily lives. You're giving us transformative information. And, a few years back, my book club, we've read Dr. Amos Wilson's Blueprint for Black Power. And in his book, he emphasized economics. He said that, economics is the root cause of most or all of our social issues. And so if you want to tackle our social issues, people say black on black crime or poverty or this, we got to look at the economics. And that's what your film is examining, the economics from antiquity till today. And so I'm not going to babble on and on. Brother Taki, or we'll let the Queen go first. Sister Felicia, tell. I'm just excited, guys. You got to excuse me. I'm excited, so I'm like blah 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 blah. But
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go second. I want to let Taki go first.
Yeah, no. You want him to go first, Queen?
Yes.
Okay, so Brother Taki, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to produce the Hapi film.
Wow, that's a big question. Kind of talk about myself, but so here I'm a native New Yorker, and one of the things that we wanted to do was, in that vein, kind of showcase some of the content from the community in regards to being around those like Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Jeffries, Professor Small. These are like household names here. You're walking up and down 125th Street, you'll run into them, so that is one of the things that, this is like a message to the elders. And we wanted to produce this film because in that we see that there's problems in the community, and we want to figure out a solution-based narrative that can help people figure out their ways to get themselves out of, the economic problems that Amos Wilson addressed in Blueprint for Black Power. I've been traveling back and forth to the Nile for about 20 years, 20 plus some odd years. Kind of came into consciousness at a young age, was raised around it. I was fortunate and blessed in that regard. From my stepfather to my friends' fathers, to just had all these different influences around at a very young age. So for me, the path was set, like this is the direction you go in. I chose the direction. It wasn't like I was forced. It was something that kind of clicked. Light bulb went off at a certain point. It was like, damn, what's up? What's real? What's really going on? And when that happened, it was like, what, let's get into this. I started in different organizations, throughout my development. And over the past maybe 20 years, the concentration has been more so with the Nile and the Nile Valley culture, Nile Valley civilization, and helping people understand the Nile in a way that makes sense to them. So the Hapi film made sense because we use the Nile as a backdrop in the film to address a lot of the problems we have today. And, and when you see the film gets into the early part of the film, touches on where we are now. A lot of discussions going on in the U.S. Capitol, a lot of discussions going on around the world, globalism versus nationalism. All these different things is touched on early in the film and why they exist. You know what I mean? Who would what's going on? Like what's going on behind the scenes? And at that point, we transitioned into, the Nile culture, start talking about some things in ancient Kemet and getting into why and who they were and how economics played a huge role on what they were doing. And one of the things about the film is about economics, but it's not about money. It's about economics, it's about ecology, it's about understanding economics from several different levels or dynamics. It's not just like, okay, well, I got money, I got economics. No, economics really deals with some type of an exchange. The exchange between you, the divine principles, an exchange between you and your mate, an exchange between you and community. That's all economics. Everything is give and take. Everything is reciprocity. Everything is based on an economic exchange. And once we understand economics through that format and through that principle, we'll have better economics. Because I heard this last night on King Simon's show. The reason why relationships fail because someone feels cheated. Someone feels like they're giving too much, another one feels like they're maybe giving too much and not receiving enough. And people get mad, get upset, and that's usually people go their separate ways. So when we understand the dynamics of real economics, we'll understand how to use our money more effectively, because we know we're not getting a free exchange in our community. That's what we talk about, the black dollar circulating enough times. All these different things have to do with the principles of economics and not just money. So, that's really what Hapi's about. It's not necessarily a film about ancient Kemet. Part of it is, but a large part of it deals with who we are today from a contemporary perspective.
Wow, brother Taki. I mean, brother, you just dropped so many jewels literally in 3 minutes. Just a lot of jewels. And I like how you pointed out that economics isn't solely about money. You said it's about exchange. And then you gave us a number of examples. You said relationships, you know what I mean? So it's just, economics is about relationships. And like you said, quid pro quo,
Right.
reciprocity, ma'at. So I can kind of see how you took Nile Valley culture to explain, utilize Nile Valley culture to explain economics. So that was very powerful. Let me ask you a quick question, brother Taki. Is this your first film? Because I was told that this is your third film. I don't know whether that was.
Yeah, so we did some films, 2 previous projects back in the mid 2000s. The first one was Nubia, the Untold Story. And I wanted to do the Nubia, the Untold Story because the story's not told. Kemet, they play around with, to the point where we'll debate the racial complexity of ancient Kemet, but we won't debate it. They'll have people debating that. So they'll give us that. They'll show the Nile, they'll play the Nile, they'll show the Nile from their perspective, from their narrative. Kush, Kosh, Nubia, they don't want to touch because it's unmistakably Black. So what we wanted to do was a film about the untold story and how Kemet and Nubia related to one another. Because we often say this, the way Kemet is taken out of Africa, Egypt is placed into the Middle East is by them causing, the friction or the so-called beef between Kemet and Nubia. So once you put those two civilizations together and have a continual Nile Valley civilization from the beginning to the end, understand maybe the periods of more peace and more hostility, or who was really at play there, then that changes the dynamic of what they're saying. So Nubia was the first one, the untold story, and we really wanted to address that at that point. The Tekken, uncovering the influence of ancient Egypt, was really almost I wouldn't say a play, but more so a visual narrative of Anthony Browder's book, Egypt on the Potomac. So we went down to DC and we were filming there, at the various different locations, on 16th Street, the Jefferson Memorial, Washington Monument, Meridian Hill Park, which they today call Malcolm X Park, and all the different sites there, Benjamin Banneker Circle, all those different things are in the Tekken. And as well, we got into the origins of secret societies, talking about the development of architecture and masonry and ancient Kemet, and how this was the origin of the secret societies, who then later became the so-called, Masons and the so-called founding fathers of this country. So the Tekken, was Infodici, Dr. Jeffries, sister by the name of Camille Yarborough, very powerful sister. She's a long activist, goes back to the 60s, actually, the original Shaft movie. So a sweetheart of an elder, and definitely had the other two giants with me. The Nubia was Dr. Jeffries and I.
Beautiful. So where can we get these on, like Amazon, or where can we get these films?
Well, right now, that's a good question. So right now,
my house.
I would say the website, but they're not on the website yet. We will put them on the Happy Film website for people to go back. Give us about a week or so, and we'll have them available on the Happy Film website.
All right, beautiful. So Queen, could you tell the audience about yourself and and your contribution to the Happy Film, and what made you want to participate, in this wonderful project?
Yeah. So you know what? I'm not from New York. I should have been. I don't know how that happened, but I'm from Detroit actually, but I moved here from DC, and I've been in film for a long time. And it's interesting about like Hapi, when you're asking us like, oh, how did we come, how did we come to it? I really feel like it's the other way around. Like, how did, it's just like it just came up on me. Literally, I was sitting in my car and saw this brother and the other guy who's not here right now. He's Seed, Robert Gay. He owns Tahuti Films, and he's the production company that, that helped produce the film. They was just like on the street. I was waiting for my kids. They were in the Kumon. And so I was like, every time I see some Black people doing anything anywhere, I'm always like in their business asking some questions. And so I'm like, oh, wow. I was like, because usually in Harlem, you actually see more people of non-Black descent or, filming. So it was kind of cool to see them filming. So I was like, okay. So I started chatting them up. And then I was talking to Taki, and he was telling me that he also did the trips to Egypt. And, up until that point, I feel like it was something that I wanted to do, but you know how sometimes there's something you want to do, but you just don't even know how to even make that happen. And so it was just like in the back of your mind. So when he said that, I was like, wow, I think I want to go. So we exchanged information, and he told me about the film. I remember going home and Googling it and saw the GoFundMe campaign. I was like, oh, this is kind of hot, So I, gave some money, because I think if you're Black and you see anybody Black doing something, give them some money if you have something, because that's the only way we're going to be able to, get anything done here. And so in, getting myself ready for the Egypt tour, I started getting introduced to Hapi. And I just remember the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really hot, and so wow. I would just kind of start helping a little bit, and then just a little bit came more and more and more, and until I'm here, because this is a project that you can't just like walk away from. It's so much of like who you are, it's so much. And there were so many things I didn't, there's a lot of things I don't know, but in working with this project, it really helped me to get to kind of, sort of get my plan together and knowing more information about my history. I had some stuff that, that I knew, but then the film, I was like, oh my God. And now I'm taking a course with Infodici. And every time he talks, I'm like, this is in the first part of our film, so it's all coming together. And it's like each person, it's like, I feel like this is the best job I've ever had in my life. because sitting down with like these elders when they're just talking and seeing the video, and this has been like a dream come true, to be quite honest.
Wow. And so you were interviewing the elders, well, the people that we see on the Hapi film. You were directly involved with, going and so while they're filming, you were there interviewing them, basically.
Well, no. So I came onto the project 2.5 years ago. And at that point, they pretty much had everyone interviewed except for, I think, like 3 people. And so I came, there were, I remember Dr. Peter Lacavara, and we shot him down in New York. And then we also shot Ken Kelly, who was on your show.
Yes.
Flew home to Detroit with Seed, and we shot him. And then, and Bill Roden. He's also in the film, sports writer, William Roden. And so that's sort of when I came around the project. And so I did a lot of like more back end things and kind of getting ready for this moment right here.
All right, beautiful. And I heard both of you say that you traveled to Kemet. And so I was thinking, Brother Taki, do you orchestrate the trips, or do you go with people like Anthony T. Browder, Dr. Patricia Newton? I know that they go over at least like every year. So I was wondering, when you all went over, did you go with, the elders, or did you kind of organize your own thing and go over?
No, most of my trips are done through my company, iCat Tours. And iCat Tours has been around since like 1999.
Oh, wonderful.
And throughout the process, we've had the great opportunity to traveling. We've had expanded trips with Professor Smalls, with Dishi, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. Actually, Camille Yarbrough came with us. Several of the esteemed elders was traveled with us throughout the years. I haven't done anything with Tony Browder yet. He and I actually spoke recently and talked about the possibility of doing something, a joint venture to the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
And, hopefully we can get through the madness of COVID soon.
Right.
We'll put some things like that together.
Absolutely. So my next question is this: why is the Nile? You said Hapi. Why is the Nile, Kemet? Why is that your central focus? Because you have brothers and sisters who will say, well, we're West African. Nile Valley. You want me to focus on the Nile? My ancestors are Yoruba, or, for me, my maternal lineage goes back to the Bamaliki people of Cameroon. My father, Yoruba. And so, some of us will say, well, I'm West African. I don't need to focus on Kemet. I don't need to focus on the Nile. So why is the Nile, your focus?
So, I got to tell you, when I hear this question, I think of, when I think of, people ask me questions about the film, I find myself quoting the elders quite a bit. And I'm going to start with Dr. Clark with this one. Kemet is the Africans as Greece and Rome is to the Europeans. All right. So when we think of Nile Valley civilization and why we should reclaim the Nile, we understand that the Nile is the gateway for so many different things. Not only the gateway for civilization, but the gateway for religion. Everything starts with the Nile. The Exodus story, the foundation of the Judaic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, starts with that story. Once we get into Nile Valley studies and we understand that that's a myth, that then changes the complexion of the world. Once you get into Nile Valley studies, you understand that the Nile were the civilizers of the world, the mythology of the Greeks being the fathers and mothers of civilization changes. Western civilization changed. So everything starts and begins with the Nile. So it's really important for us to understand that Nile Valley culture is central, not only for Africans, but for the entire world. So the entire world looks at the Nile as a point of reference. In fact, history starts with the Nile. When we talk about written history, there is no recorded documentation prior to the Meta-Netra or the hieroglyphics. So when we talk about historical data, they go to ancient Egypt to find the first historical data in terms of literary data. So maybe say, hey, well, you had the Sumerians, that language was very different. It had no phonetic value to it. You know what I mean? So it's very important to understand that history in itself starts in the Nile. Now I'm gonna go to Professor James Small. One of the backdrops of the film and how the film got produced, and just through conversations with this esteemed elder, was talking about the migrations of people back and forth through the continent. So although you and I and Felicia and everyone else that's in America may be direct descendants from West Africa, the Yoruba, as well as the Ga and other tribes in West Africa claim their lineage to the Nile. So no matter which way you look at it, whether we East Africans or West Africans, all Africans are pointing to the Nile. You know what I mean? At some point in their development. So that's really important for us to understand that even the people in West Africa say, hey, you know, whether it's the Wolof in Senegal, which isn't, this is Hapi, all the stuff is in the film, you know, the Wolof in Senegal, they have their language directly connected to Nile Valley culture. The people of Mali, the Dogons, all these different West African tribes have some lineage to Nile Valley culture and civilization. So can't escape it.
Can't escape it. So you say you can't escape it. We can't escape it because it's the origin.
Yeah.
So like you said, all fingers point back there. Beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. So who can we expect to see in the film? I know I brought on maybe 4 or 5 cast members, but when I spoke to the Queen, she named about 30 people, Brother Taki. She said, do you want to interview? She gave me like this long list and some names I can't even remember. You want to do this person, this person, this person. But I know you have, you know, I think at least about 25 or 30 folks, but who can we expect to see? I know we're going to see the big names, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor James Small, Dr. Patricia Newton. I'm trying to think, Dr. Boyce, Wade Nobles, Boyce Watkins, Dr. Badalora. But who else can we expect to see in the Hapi film?
Wow. So we have some very, you know, young and innovative people as well. And I want to definitely point them out and shout them out because we know about the elders that you mentioned. Start with sister by the name of Mandy Bowman. She had this app called Official Black Wall Street. It's been in existence for several years now. And it's a B2B app, or essentially an app that helps Black people find Black businesses in the area. And once you sign up and you're a part of it and you download the app, it'll alert you when you're walking by or close to a Black business.
Yeah.
Let you know, like, hey, you want to find a Black restaurant? This is the list. You want to find, you know, Black clothing store? This is the list. You want to work out? Here's a list of Black businesses in that area. So I think that was very creative, very innovative, and we wanted to bring it in because this is something that we talk about quite a bit, cooperative economics. And we know cooperative economics is one of our solutions to the problem that, you know, plagues our community. So this app, the Official Black Wall Street app, addresses that. We also have Brother Jabari Osaze, great brother, wonderful brother, one of the high priests of the Shrine of Ma'at here in New York. He's also an author. He also has a very esteemed professional career as well. So he's an all-around gem in the sense that the brother, to me, has a very balanced life. You know, his personal life, his professional life, and his spiritual life is very balanced in that sense. So, you know, he came into the project, and I'm very happy that he's been a part of it. Also, the brother Sarim Hotep. Now, what's deep about this brother is the connection between one of the elders and how he came onto the project. So when we're speaking of cultural confluence or the connection between the different cultures in Africa, one of the things we wanted to illustrate in the film was language.
Yeah.
The linguistic components of how the Wolof is connected to Meta Nature. Give you an example how your words in Yoruba is connected to the Meta Nature, you know, and we were looking for someone to deliver this. So we brought on Sister Dr. Raketi Amin.
Yes.
You know, to do that. And she gave us some stuff and she said, you know what, Taki? She said, you know, I think Sarim Hotep is the person you want to get. So, you know.
Wow. And that let me just interject. For her to recommend brother, so I mean, you know what I mean? Like for Dr. Raketi Amin to say, look, I'm gonna recommend this brother. You know, that was major.
Yeah,
I mean, that was really major. And so, oh my gosh.
I had to hit him up and I was like, who is this person? So I'm on Facebook, put the name in, came up, it's okay, send him a message, and the rest is history, literally. So we shot here with him twice. We was having access to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. And we wanted to use the artwork in the museum as a backdrop. So we had to go through the process. And one of the things I want to, you know, touch on too is, you know, to do a film like this, we had to get the permits, insurance for a lot of these locations, because the museum's not gonna let you come in unless you have like an insurance rider to ensure the fact that if something happens, you know, this thing isn't covered. You know, so we had to go through a process of vetting ourselves in terms of these various different locations that were shot at. And once they approved it, I called the brother and said, hey, this is our date. This is our time. He met us in New York like 4 o'clock in the morning. We drove up to Boston, and we shot him there. They came back to New York again, and we actually did some additional filming. So he was definitely a team player, a happy player, and we definitely glad he's a part of the process.
And what I was just thinking, we really need to support this film. On July the 18th, please, family, go to happyfilm.com, purchase your tickets. And I believe the premiere is going to be at 7 o'clock. I've been telling everybody 7 o'clock. So I hope, okay. So at 7 o'clock p.m., yes, it's going to air at 7 p.m., family. I'm sitting here listening to Brother Taki. He said, permits, they had to, so this is a lot. This is not just somebody running around town with a video camera saying, hey, let me put this stuff together and sell it to you for $25. He said they had to get insurance, they had to get permits, they had to travel to different states. So and all of this is what did you say? At different countries, so we have to support this film. We got to support family, our content creators, so we can enable them to continue to produce this level of content. So family, please, please, please go to happyfilm.com, purchase your premiere tickets, your tickets to the premiere for July the 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. I even indicated to the Queen, I said, I'm going to have a Happy Film party. And what I'm going to do, Brother Taki, with my family, we're going to be watching the Happy Film. I'm going to take a video, we're going to record some video footage and take pictures and send it all to you. So we're having a Happy Film party in my home. And so family, come on, we got to support this. But go ahead, Brother Taki. You want to add something?
Real quickly, I just want to just add on to what you just said. 7 p.m. Eastern. So we have people, and just want to shout out to everyone who supported the project throughout the process. Of those people who obviously, a lot of people have been buying it. I think we've announced it since June 19th. So for the past 3 weeks, we've been pretty much promoting the premiere, and people from all over the country, matter of fact, people from all over the world have responded. And
absolutely.
One of the questions is the time zones in terms of, what time will it be for them? So 7 p.m. Eastern, you're on the West Coast, 4 p.m., Mountain Time, So you got to figure out your time zone, because it's imperative that you're not in California and you're trying to watch the film at 7 o'clock. It's be over by that time. So 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time it's very important to know. And definitely, again, want to just say thank you to everyone that's, been a part of this and people who supported it from the beginning. And so much shout out to you, Dr. Maat. You and I have been kind of going back and forth with this for a while. And
yes.
Talking about, the film and all those have been involved. I said earlier, Tahuti Films, the Happy Film was filmed and produced in conjunction with them. And the brother Robert Gay and his family, they did a phenomenal job. And everyone who gets a ticket, all ticket holders will also have access to an exclusive panel discussion immediately following the film with some of the key cast members that'll be on the panel. So I encourage you to do that. It's not going to be something that's going to be posted online. It's only for those who are in the building. So the virtual movie theater, you got to be a part of that movie theater to see this exclusive event immediately following. Also, highly recommend, if you're going to watch it, once you get your ticket, figure out a way or mechanism so that you can watch it on a large screen. You have a smart TV, great. You have a Fire Stick, great. Roku, great. If not, figure out get your HDMI cable, plug your computer into your television, your phone, to your TV, because you're going to want to see it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
The brother T did a great job in the photography and the sound, the editing, things like that. So you really, really want to see this.
Absolutely. I was sitting here thinking, though, because if we put it on a smart TV, because I know that the tickets are like, if this was a movie theater, right? Everybody's paying per person. And I'm not saying pay $25 per person, right? But, you got 15 of us or 10 of us in the room watching, and then we pay $25 so all of us are watching. So I don't want to do that to you, Brother Taki and Sister Felicia. So is there any way folks like myself who would want to donate, and say, look, I'm going to purchase it. I'm going to purchase a ticket for $25. I'm going to put it on the screen, but it's going to be like 10 or 20 of us watching. I still want to give you something because, I still want to give you something. So what can we do? How can we donate to this project? How can we, how can we donate to you?
So, I tell you what, this is a really interesting dilemma. I won't say dilemma, but it's really interesting that the situation the COVID put us in, it gave and it took away. So the money piece is great, but the love is more important. And for people in that room that are there, that are watching it, tell a friend, tell another friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Post about it, tweet about it, share the information. That's how it can be given back. That's how the reciprocity can be delivered. Sister, I was talking to this sister earlier today, and she asked me something similar. I said, listen, if you're going to do it, you're going to have to use various different email accounts. You can't purchase multiple tickets at once. You only purchase once, because that sign of information you have is what gets you access back into it. However, if you have a subsequent email address, you could use that to purchase an additional ticket and maybe give it to a friend who's not going to be in your house and say, hey, 7 o'clock, use this. Here's the password I created for you. Log on and watch the film. So you could do it that way too, but definitely everybody in the house want to just make sure that they're inspired and galvanized to go out there and spread the word.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Just
go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Yeah, just some some other little details to make sure that everyone knows. So when you get your ticket, you're going to see the film. So we're going to send an email link, a Zoom link for the panel discussion separately. We're not going to send it days in advance. We're going to send it maybe around 9 o'clock. The panel discussion will start at 9:30. So everyone needs to be aware that the panel discussion is going to start. And that they will be emailed a link. To just, all you do is hit the link and then you're in the panel, in the panel discussion.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Sister Felicia. Sister Felicia, let me ask you another question. Once the film airs, will it be available for download, immediately on the Hapi Film website? Do we have to go to Amazon? Is it going to be a DVD? Is it going to be available in DVD format? So how, can you explain that?
Yeah. So once the film premieres and it's over at 9:30. So when you're buying your ticket, it's not like you can just watch the show anytime. It's only between 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 9:30. Then that's it. At that point, you will be able to digitally download. You just go to our website, hit the digital download on our merchandise page, and you'll be able to do that. And there are people who bought DVDs, and when Tyke's talking about the love, one of the things that they did was they had 4 different screenings prior to this point, and not screenings of the whole film, but when they would get footage, they were cutting different types of films, and gaining momentum, getting email addresses, and we also we had pre-order for DVDs, and so at that point we're going to send out all those DVDs, and whatever's left we will then be able to sell.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. In my mind, I was just thinking about what Brother Tyke said, a few minutes ago when he said like COVID-19, took some things away. It added some things because in Baltimore, typically like when a Hidden Colors comes out, Brother Tariq Nasheed, he would fly in town and he would rent out like a private owned movie theater, and we would all pile up and go support it. So in my mind, I was like, oh man, I wish for the Hapi Film that we could have did that. But it's so
we were scheduled to open up at the Schomburg, like a dream come true. And then we were going to be at the Charles Wright Museum in Detroit. We were getting the little schedule together.
Yes.
But we can't believe in ancestors half the time, and half the time we don't.
That's right.
Be all 100% in. And I remember at the time I was like, wow, this is happening. And everything just started shutting up. And I was like, wow, this is really, they really shutting down some stuff up in here.
Yes.
And so at that point, but let me tell you about that. But in this time, we were able to develop a better marketing plan. We were able to come up with Hapi Talks. We have a Hapi newsletter. So if everyone can go to hapifilm.com, sign up for the newsletter, it goes out monthly. There was a lot of things we were able to do that had we, just opened up like that next month, maybe it wouldn't have been the best start. But, eventually we will be able to, touch our audience, because this is, this film, when, it's all about us. It's just like love romance with us. And so we are definitely, going to do some type of little theater, something once we figure out what's going on with COVID, because that's always been part of the plan.
All right, beautiful. In Baltimore, we have a Black-owned
Yeah.
movie theater here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I contacted her. It's
absolutely.
little small, so we had to have a couple of showings there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah, so we gotta.
Looking for.
Yeah, like you said. So when this is over, we can still hit the movie theaters. And there's another independent movie theater in Baltimore called The Center. That's where Tariq Nasheed normally goes, to the Center.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in East Baltimore City, and so he usually will rent the Center out and show Hidden Colors there. Will there be a part 2? I know we're talking about Hapi. I'm just curious. Will there be a part 2?
Part 2 and 3 probably.
Yeah. So is this going to be like a series, or is this like a one-time film, or?
Let me say this. I would say yes to a part 2, but this film has so much. I was inspired to do the film from, like Felicia said, you got to believe in the ancestors all the time. It depends on which way the wind blows in that sense, because the inspiration may come to a different project, and we may not call it Hapi, but all these projects are connected. So really, this is Nubia Part 3, if you really want to get technical, because all 3 films had a similar story. All 3 films that talk about something very similar. You can find some information, similar information in all 3 films. Like even when we talk about the Tekken, the uncovering the influence of ancient Egypt, there's parts in Hapi that deal with the Europeans using our knowledge and using our wisdom to empower themselves through architecture, through their masonry, through their buildings. And that's a big part of what is discussed. It's a part of what's discussed in Hapi. So, like I said, Hapi could be Nubia Part 3 if you really want to get technical. So the next project, there is something in the works now. And in a lot of ways, it's connected to Hapi, because you cannot get away from economics, no matter which way you try to turn, which way you try to go. It is the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of civilization. It is who we are. So, I mean, the bottom line is, there will be a part 2. It may not be called Hapi, but it'll be a part 2.
All, like you said, but it's all connected. And one thing you said,
yes.
One thing you said, I want us to go back to. You said the Europeans took our knowledge and and empowered themselves. So absolutely. And so that's why it's important that we reclaim our history and our knowledge, and then use that to empower ourselves. Dr. Amos Wilson, in his book The Falsification of African Consciousness, he said that history should be a tool that is used to empower ourselves. And so we need to, like I said, films like Hapi Film and all of these other documentaries about our history and our knowledge, we need it, and we need to utilize it, with the objective to empower ourselves, not to just feel good. People say, oh, we built the pyramids and it feels good. Oh, we were the original man and woman on the planet. It feels good. This knowledge feels good, but not only should we want to feel good, right? We have to apply the information. And that's the definition of intelligence. Intelligence is the application of knowledge. So people say, knowledge is power, information is power. But Dr. Claude Anderson, in his book, Powernomics, he said information is the potential for power. Knowledge is the potential for power. It is not until you apply it that it empowers you. And so again, but we have to know it in order to, to even apply it, right? And so that's why films like Hapi is so important. So family, again, please go to hapifilm.com. Purchase your tickets, $25 for the premiere, July the 18th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to make sure I say that, Brother Taki. I keep saying 7 p.m., but it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Brother Taki, go ahead and add. You wanted to say something, brother.
But it's really interesting when you talk about Europeans copying things. I was they have done it so in a way that they have made Africans look at themselves as being scary and being afraid. Whereas in hiding, they're turning around and secretly worshiping or following who we are. Some people call it cultural appropriation, but it's so much deeper than cultural appropriation, because they get really down to the nitty gritty of studying African science. We look at the Nile, again, using that as an example.
Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute, Brother Taki. Did you say African science?
Yes.
So, because a lot of people think that science is a white man's invention.
Nah. So when you get into like African science, particularly the early mathematicians, early, architectural science, the astronomy, the astrology, and so forth that we produced, that we mastered, and that we taught the world. The Europeans, when they invaded, not even the Europeans, but the Western Asians, when they invaded ancient Kemet, was really interesting because they never really forced their ways upon them. They always became what I like to call Egyptized, because they saw Egypt as the shining example. The people in Egypt they saw as having the model for success. So they wanted to be successful. They had to go to where the success was. And what they did when they came to Egypt, they worshipped African gods. They prayed to the black man and the black woman and the black child, and they built temples, resurrected temples in the image of the African principles. So it's really important to understand, starting from Alexander, even before Alexander, you can say so-called great, even before him and further on, the lineage of Europeans using our knowledge to empower themselves is all up and down the Nile. When you go to all these major European cities, the Tekkens are there. The Tekken, or the obelisk, is right in the center of Christianity, in the middle of the Vatican. There's more Tekken in Rome than there is in Egypt. There's Central Park, Washington, D.C., all these European major cities are coveting this knowledge. They're covering the spiritual power, but Africans have been blinded and have been told something different. So instead of us following who we are, we're trying to follow them, and they're following us. Shit is backwards.
Yeah, that's a fact. And when you mentioned Rome, and I was thinking about Paris. In 2000,
Rome.
Yeah. In 2003, I had the opportunity at that particular time. I was in the U.S. Army Reserves, and we had to do what we call AT, our annual training. And so I was over there for 2 weeks. I was actually stationed in Darmstadt, Germany, for 2 weeks for annual training. And while I was there, one of my we call them buddies, one of my buddies there, her name's I'm sitting here thinking Latrice Whitaker. She's married now, but Whitaker said, Bailey, come on over here and let's go to the they were giving out tickets called a Paris Jubilee, so we could go to Paris for a weekend. And Paris was 5 hours away from where we were stationed. So I said, Whitaker, I'm not going to Paris. And she looked at me. She said, Bailey, when is the next time you're going to be 5 hours away from Paris? She said, girl, you better get your butt on here and go on this Paris Jubilee. And so anyway, I got on the bus with her. I went down there and we went to this place called Concord Square. And so what do you see in Concord Square? A Tekken. And so I'm looking at a Tekken and I said, oh my goodness, they have the Tekken is sitting there right in Concord Square, right in Paris. And so I'm young at the time, so I'm taking pictures by the Tekken. But I just wanted to plus one what you said, Brother Taki, that when you go to these different places of the world, you see our symbols, you see our symbols.
Yeah. And that's, we used to, on our way to Kemet, we would always stop in, well, not always, but in some cases we would stop in some European cities in London and visit the British Museum quite a bit, and go to the Thames River to see the Tekken there. And on occasions, I would take the groups through Paris, to the Champs-Elysees, which is connected to Concord Square, and by the Louvre, we would go to the Louvre also.
Yes, the Louvre.
But we would see the Tekken there. And make no mistake about it, the Eiffel Tower is a replica of the Tekken. And see, that's where you start to get into modern European architecture and what they did to mimic these symbols. They didn't only do it in, like Eiffel Tower did it in buildings, and that's one of the things that Hapi talks about. So it's very common for Europeans to mimic Africans. Going back to Alexander the Great, first thing he did when he came to Kemet, he went to the oracle of Amen-and-Siwa, and he was like declared himself a pharaoh. Because they were mimicking. They constantly mimic. But, that's the highest form of flattery. And we get it. We understand. The sad part about it is Africans don't want to mimic themselves.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Oh, man. So I'm trying to think what else I want to ask you. I had so many questions in my mind. And now that I have you on the platform, I'm like, where do I want to go from here? So, okay, you already answered my question about it being a series. So you said even if it's not called Hapi, it may be called something else, but we definitely know that something else is coming in the future.
Yes, it is. Definitely.
All right. Wonderful. And when did you say we could get access to the other films? I know we talked about that earlier in the discussion, but you said the other films will be available on the Hapi Film website. You said in a few weeks, or am I reaching?
No, a few weeks I think it's a good amount of time. Okay. Right now, the list of priorities It's Hapi, 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 Hapi.
Absolutely.
Get ready for July 18th and the subsequent premieres as well. See, July 18th is just the first one. There will be subsequent online screenings. And the merchandise piece, we have some t-shirts being made up right now. So all different types of things connecting us to Hapi and what we're doing, like moving forward. And obviously, you know, just working with you and everyone else just to get this information out. All the other platforms. Shout out to everyone. Philippe Matthews, Brother Michael M. Hotep, African History Network, Sarim Hotep, Sinetta. Felicia, help me out. I forget some.
Shrine of Maat.
Shrine of Maat, yes. We don't want to miss anyone. Everyone on these platforms came on board and really, really did their thing in terms of helping out. And, you know, much love, definitely.
Well, I think this thing, I think it's going to be big. I mean, I think this is going to be big. I think, you know, I don't want to compare it to films, but I think it's going to be a big deal. I think that it's, you know, like you said, you got people from around the world reaching out to you all already. And I see the Hapi film being huge. And so you
No, I'm saying, and a lot of that really is timing. And Felicia basically stated this, you know, earlier, you know, we had different times that we wanted to do this, but there was another plan in the works that said, nah, that ain't the time for it. This is the time for it. You know what I'm saying? And
absolutely,
the theme of the film, just economics, politics, and culture, and understanding that and using Dr. Jeffrey's master formula, you know, and it's funny, Doc and I have been 20 years going about it in economics, politics, and you hear it so much, you know, sometimes, you know, you hear something, you just kind of like, you know, it ain't resonating, but it's there. It wasn't until we started making this film until it became clear, like understanding how economics and the politics work together and what we need, because a lot of black people have money. You know, it's not the fact that we don't have money, because, you know we got a $1.3 trillion spending, I won't say budget, but spending power as a nation. If you put all the African Americans together, we're like the 16th most wealthiest nation in the world. That's how much money we have. We know we have money. We know there are a lot of black people out there with money, but why can't we progress? And we're not progressing because the cultural component is not there.
That's a fact. I was sitting here I was waiting for you to say we're not progressing. I was waiting for you to say we're not progressing because we're practicing a disempowering culture. That's why.
We get our culture together, we'll be straight.
Brother, Felicia spoke of the brother William Roden, who's also in the film. He wrote a book called $40 Million a Slave.
Yeah, I got it in my bookshelf behind me. Absolutely.
Right. So,
in there too.
You know, it's really important to understand, like, yo, there's cats with money, but if they're not really addressing the community, they don't have the cultural, you know, mechanism to really be like, hey, yo, I want to make a difference in our community. You know, we're going to have a problem. We're going to struggle. You know what I mean? So the other communities don't have that. Like, you know, we understand, like, there are, you know, wealthy Jews who take care of their community, you know, and Europeans and so forth and other races, Asians, that they take care of their community. You know what I mean? They understand that they have to put mechanisms in place because their strength is from their community. And the sad part is that with black people, we still support a lot of these people. We still support them. We still love them. We still revere them. We love Barack. I mean, he did nothing for black people, but we understand that Barack was, like, for us, I'm like, you know, white guy, I be at work arguing white people all the time about Barack. I'm like, listen, you should like him more than I do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was just black on paper, but, you know, the reality is, you know, he did more to help you forward your agenda than he did ours.
Absolutely.
But he did have good parties. He did have good White House parties. People were able to get their leg. But, you know, it's also when he's talking about the cultural and the economic and the political piece, Charles Barron is also he's also in the film. We didn't, you know, that's one of the pieces that we sometimes forget to talk about. So you have your economics in place, you have your cultural piece, but if you don't have if you don't own the politics in your neighborhood, then again, you need all three pieces, which we are all able to do. Like, this is not, you know, something that we can't do. It's just, we just have to, you know, like Hapi is like a door, you know, that should be opened by everyone so that they can then, you know, take from it. And the other piece about this is when you look at it, don't expect to just look at it and, you know, I've seen this film a bunch of times, and there's still times when I call, you know, Taki, like, such and such and such and such. She's like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, that's in there. You know, like, just making all of these, you know, connections. And taking it, making it yours, and then figuring out, something to do, because there's lots of things for us to do. And that's one of the things. It's not just like you said, look at it. Oh, this is a nice film. Oh, I like the cinematography. Oh, it's beautiful. No, let's go. And there's plenty of, like, the last part of the film, we talk about a lot of different things that we can do. And so, and we are very excited about, being in a position to help this conversation move on.
Absolutely. And I love how you just said, Sister Felicia, at the end of the film, you give us some action items. So it's not like you're just, we're sitting there just absorbing a bunch of information. Yeah. It's like, here's the information and here are some action items, so let's go and let's do this. Let's take this away and let's go to work. And so I definitely like that. And I love how Brother Taki spoke on culture. We got to remember, family, that culture fosters the psychology of the members, right, to which who belong to the culture. So culture creates the psychology, and psychology dictates your behavior, right? So that means that it's your culture that's going to dictate how you spend your money, where you spend your money, and with whom you spend your money. And so I agree 100% with the two of you that if we want to change, I remember someone asked me, well, Doc, how do you get Black people to start buying back? I said, we got to change the culture. And where do you push the culture? Through institutions. And so that's why it's important, family, that Black people, that African people get involved in institution building. Brother Saw Imhotep, he and I had a build a long time ago, and he said that's how you preserve and perpetuate your culture, through institutions. Yeah. And so it's imperative that we do that. Brother Taki, it seems like you wanted to add something.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's deep. I was talking again with King Simon last night on the King Simon show, and we talked about institutions. We brought up a lot of institutions, and he and I kind of were reminiscent throughout the program about some of the strong institutions and what role they played in our lives. And one of them I brought up was the African Poetry Theater that used to be here in New York, or still here, and First World, and the Slave Theater, the Black Spectrum Theater. All these different cultural institutions were essential for the development of young and old African minds. And we actually said it to the people in the audience, shout out your cultural institutions in your cities and your towns and where you're from, because we can speak to the ones here in New York, but I can't speak to what you guys may have had in Baltimore or down in DC. We know we do have in DC, IKG in DC. We know about IKG, we know about the brother Tony Browder.
And Sankofa Bookstore in DC.
It's like Sankofa Bookstore in DC, but if you're in Atlanta or Detroit or LA or Chicago, wherever you are, Philadelphia, we wanted you to shout out those cultural institutions because they are important. And right now they are struggling because we don't know what's going to happen to them post-COVID. Because if they can't get people back in the doors who come sit down and do the lecture, because everything right now is like it's going to be online. So it was really hard. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen, how we're going to evolve as a people once this COVID thing is over. Will we go back to sit into audiences? Will we go back and feel comfortable? What's going to happen? So we really want to shout these institutions out and support them in any way we can because they are important. I know they're important for me and my development, and I'm sure they're important for you and everyone else's development. So cultural institutions, just to add on to what the brother Sarim Hotep and you said, is very important. And also Sister Felicia said something a second ago about the film. Don't expect to get it all in one time. One of my favorite books is Nile Valley Culture, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. And that book always looked at as a reference guide.
Yeah.
It's not something you read one time, you go back to it, you reference it, you get your marker, you highlighter, and you highlight things in the book, you write your little notes down, things like that. Matter of fact, that's why I even produced a study guide afterwards. So we want you to look at Hapi also as a reference guide. Get a copy, go back to it, reference the movie. There's several things you're going to see. You want to go back, you want to do some research, go back, listen to it again, and really, really understand some of the things that are being said.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sister Felicia and Brother Taki, for coming on the platform tonight. I could speak to you all day. I mean, I can. I mean, we on the same wave. And tonight, Sister Aleem and I, we started a book club called The Resurgence of the African Mind Book Club. And right now we're reading Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Maat.msu. And so in his book, he talked about the importance of connecting with like minds. And so in our build tonight, we were talking about that, how, when you're trying to re-Africanize yourself, when you're going through that process of re-Africanization, we talked about how it's going to be a long road, it's a difficult road, and it's a lonely road. And so that's why it's important to, while you're rewiring your consciousness, it's important that we, I think sister is frozen.
Yeah, I think so too. She'll come back in.
She'll be back in. But during that whole rewiring of our consciousness, we talked about the importance of connecting with like minds. And I consider you, Brother Taki, and the sister, we are of like minds. And so, it's important, family, that we connect with people of like minds. And so that's what I was thinking. That's why I said I could talk to you all night, because we, as my little cousin would say, we're on the same wave.
Right. And, I just want to definitely give Meltrek a shout out, and talk about that, because Meltrick was also an inspiration to come back out of, I wouldn't say retirement, but it's about maybe 10 years since between the Tekken and Hapi. And seeing people like yourself and the contributions and works that you've been doing definitely was one of the things, or one of the, the inspiration for me to say, you know what, it's time to put out something else. So shout out to you and that production, and it's something that, I always, when I see it, I'm like trying to share it and really blast it out, because I want people to definitely see about, hear about Meltrick and the work you've done with that. And I think it's a tremendous work, and stay strong and keep it up.
Thank you so much, Brother Taki. And I appreciate that. And I can honestly say that, you do. When I put up something about Meltrick, you share it and you say family, you definitely encourage people to get it. And so I do thank you.
Absolutely. Had to. We got to. And again, that's the reciprocity, that's the economics, that's the love. And we was always from day one.
Yes.
Like, hey, you know what? Just go here, just share it. People, check this out, because it's something that the children should have. And that's our, I wouldn't say our salvation, but that's our victory. Our victory is in our youth. And even the ancient Kemethi, you understood this by resurrecting Heru and understanding the power of Heru, dealing with just the youth and tomorrow and the future. They understood that the victory and the mastery and just being the rulership comes through the youth. And we have to resurrect them. We have to keep them up, and we have to make sure that we pass on good virtues to young people. And Meltrick series is definitely something that does that. And I implore all the people in the audience to definitely go out and get it for your children. It's extremely important. It's something that's very helpful in young minds, young African minds. And I like the fact that Meltrick also dealt with not just, it was diverse in the sense that it was, universal from the Afro-Hispanic perspective and the Caribbean and Latin perspective. All those different elements were there, and the indigenous people's perspective. So it definitely gave a universal perspective, and just in terms of indigenous people.
Absolutely. I mean, and I appreciate, that's what we were trying to do. That's what we were trying to, provide, and there she is. She's back. All right, Queen. We saw you freeze up. And so he said she'll be back. And so do you have any closing words? Do you have any closing words, Sister Felicia, Brother Taki? Any closing words?
She might have frozen some again, so I'll close it out. So we just want to tell the family, just go to our Facebook page, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, follow us. Like Sister Felicia said earlier, the Hapi newsletter, I think you'll like it, in the sense that it's comprehensive. What we do, it's 5 elements in the newsletter. One of them is we feature a Black business every month. We have a health tip. We also have an article on a Black person, innovator in economics. And we also have the financial wellness article as well. And again, any Hapi updates. So it's something that's universal in the sense that it's helpful for Black people to get inspiration from the past, something that they can do in their future with the financial wellness article. And just something that they say, hey, you know what, this is a Black business I want to support. Let me know more about them. We feature the Black business as well. So the way you get involved with that is you go to the website and you basically sign up for the newsletter, and we get the emails, and that you'll be on our list. And August 1st, you will have your article. And definitely get your tickets. Hapi Film is here, July 18th, 7 p.m. Go to www.hapifilm.com.
Yeah. All right. Sister Alicia.
You know what? I'm just thank you again for having us. And you said something. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard before. I didn't know you were in the Army. I was in the Air Force. We were probably in
wow.
and I was stationed in Fort Sam, Houston.
Oh wow. Yeah. So did you do active duty or I was reserves?
That was straight up active duty.
Oh yeah, you went hard. You went hard. I did reserves and I took my Montgomery GI Bill and went to college. I could.
Yes, I did.
Sister Felicia's a soldier for real. I was there 1 week of the month, 2 weeks out of the year.
I went to Germany too. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I was in Germany too. I was like,
yeah.
How everyone just has these parallel lives, but at some point, we end up meeting.
We end up connecting. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on the platform tonight. I know you all are busy people. You and I, Queen, were talking offline, and I was talking about all the different things you have going on, working, projects. Brother Taki, the same with him, working. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come on the platform to talk about this wonderful project. Again, family, please go to happyfilm.com. Purchase your tickets for July the 18th premiere at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, family, I will be in the building. Brother Taki and sis, I need to get. Well, I guess once I purchase it, you said I'll get a Zoom link, so I could get that from you once I purchase my ticket.
Yes.
Because if we send a Zoom link out now, you're not gonna find it. No one's gonna find it. Oh, I can't. Where is it at?
Okay.
So, closer to the time, as soon as you're done, you open your email. It's there. You hit it, and then we get to see what everybody got to say.
All right.
Sort of like how we do with these talks. People usually send it out kind of close to the time to coming on the air because it will get buried. It go to your spam. People can't find it. Things like that. I just want to say one last parting thing. Just want to give thanks to everyone in the audience. Thanks for coming listening to this another edition of Dr. Maat, your show. So thank you very much.
Yeah.